Alright, welcome in. I'm the Kodiak, and today it's time to talk about Brandon Aiyuk and the San Francisco 49ers and his whole contract negotiation dispute, whether you want to call it that or not going on right now. And leave a like if you enjoy, or as I always say, you can wait until the end and hopefully I will have earned it. Subscribe if you're not already because I'll be making NFL content all offseason long, and let's get right into it. So, Aiyuk is at a really interesting career arc, from being practically an afterthought in the 2020 draft after Ruggs, Judy, and Lamb in the COVID draft to thrown in as a rookie in 2020 and completely blowing everyone's expectations that year out of the water, to being completely doghoused in 2021, at least to start the year, to earning Kyle Shanahan's trust again over the past 2 seasons and becoming a true superstar wideout. I believe that Brandon Aiyuk is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. Not an elite Jefferson, Chase, or Lamb kind of guy, but still a great true X. He is truly a number one wide receiver in this league. He plays at a very high level, and while Shanahan is undoubtedly a great schemer, Aiyuk himself is a phenomenal player, phenomenal separator. Went from a great rookie year to Shanahan pushing him to live up to his potential, and now he's a top player in this league. He's a great yak player, phenomenal man coverage beater who has a big arsenal of routes and absolutely punishes defensive backs in the run game and can even get chippy in the run game with linebackers and edges from time to time. But this is such a Kyle Shanahan wide receiver, and I love this guy's game. He's such a good player to watch. I love going through his highlights. The ball comes his way in high leverage situations, and he was low-key giving Snead, who is an elite corner, work in the Super Bowl. And had things turned out a little differently and a few plays been executed better by the 49ers offensive line, Brandon Aiyuk makes the Super Bowl winning catch. But unfortunately, when your team is as good as the 49ers have been over the past few years, you have to have choices and make choices on guys like Brandon Aiyuk. It could very well be possible that the 49ers cannot afford to keep Brandon Aiyuk. And in the nature of a salary cap league, it's just, what kind of has to happen going forward. But instead of being in a system like San Francisco for Brandon Aiyuk, where yes, you are a great player, but there are a lot of mouths to feed as well. Maybe he decides that he wants the chance to establish himself in a lesser wide receiver room, put up numbers, and be the true one. You never know what goes through the mind of these athletes, but here's why the 49ers should not let, under any circumstance, Brandon Aiyuk go. Having Brock Purdy on a 7th-round rookie deal is such a hack. And while guys like Debo and Kittle are great players, the ball comes to Brandon Aiyuk's hands in high-leverage situations, and he is the most complete receiver on this team. This trade, if it was to be made by the 49ers, reminds me of trading DeForest Buckner. And ultimately, the 49ers did miss on the Kinlaw pick, but it wasn't all that bad. You have to factor in other variables. Making the switch freed up cap room that allowed them to do things like trade for Trent Williams and extend George Kittle. And there was a report that the 49ers have received an offer from Jacksonville of number 17 overall in this year's draft, plus Zay Jones for Brandon Aiyuk. And of course, getting a draft pick for a player is risky, and odds are that draft pick will not turn into Brandon Aiyuk. And while I don't believe the 49ers would become the next version of the Tennessee Titans, you do not want to be the next laughingstock of the NFL for a hideous wide receiver trade and make the NFL forget about the whole Traylon Burks situation with whoever you draft at 17. But you have to balance this all out with the cost and benefit of the cap situation. And for a program as good as the 49ers have been since Shanahan and Lynch have taken over, the track record of first-round picks they've had has not been very good, besides Aiyuk and Bosa. And it is doing Purdy a big disservice if something like this were to happen. Purdy is a good quarterback, but I don't think he's at that stage yet where he can completely carry the load and completely carry the team and lose key weapons at the wide receiver position and just work magic with whatever replacements they bring in. Hell, you even look at the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, and their offense looked very lackluster at points this year because of the ragtag wide receiver group of roster cloggers and non-assets. But mind you, Purdy is only going into his 3rd season, and the chemistry he has with Aiyuk is ginormous. That matters a lot. They were so close to finishing the job last year. Based on what Michael Pittman got this year, which was, I believe, 3 years, $70 million, which is roughly $23 million in average annual value, $24 million is the floor for Aiyuk. He's a better player than Pittman. He should be paid more, given that the cap will go up, and he is better to this team and more valuable than any of San Francisco's other skill position players. And this team, you cannot afford to lose Brandon Aiyuk. Brandon Aiyuk is way too important to this team. I understand the consequences of, salary cap. I understand the consequences of, everything like that. And in a lot of cases, I am all for re-rolling with another first round pick. In the modern NFL, you got to crack a few eggs to make an omelet. You can't just go by without taking a few risks here and there. But at the same time, trading away Brandon Aiyuk is not the risk you're looking for when it comes to those sorts of situations. This is one of the guys that you want to hang on to, especially because he's a homegrown guy. He is such a Kyle Shanahan wide receiver. And I just do not see any world where he is not on the San Francisco 49ers next year. And if he is, and the only world that exists for the 49ers without Brandon Aiyuk next year, I can guarantee you is not a better situation than they're in today with Brandon Aiyuk on their roster. So yeah, that does it for me, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.